It's Smith. They have no timeouts remaining. Smith will bring it up the floor quickly. Smith on the drive to the rim. Missed the layup. Rebound loose. Scooped up by Gale. He'll throw it to the other end of the floor. Caravan tracks it down with 2 seconds. With 1, he throws it to half court. And since 1989, there's been a blank space in the Michigan trophy case. Will write their name. Michigan, the 2026 men's basketball national champions. They knock off UConn 69-63 to win the school's second men's basketball championship.
Welcome, Central Indiana sports fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for my new podcast, Greg and His Friends Talk Sports. I'm your host, Greg Mengel, and every weekday afternoon, my friends and I are talking about whatever Central Indiana sports fans are talking about. Coming up today, Tuesday, April 7, 2026, Michigan is your national champion. Grant Shouse was at the game, and he will share his on Michigan's win over UConn and their run to the national championship. We will also hear from Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader sports editor Michelle Garmon on the state of college basketball. Before we get to all of that, I want to let you know what's going on at the Central Indiana Sports Report. Earlier this week, we released a Fever report with Michelle and John Robertson, a Pacers report with Mike Rich. Hopefully later today, we'll have an IU report with Grant Shouse and Mike Hutzel. Expect a Purdue report on Wednesday and an IndyCar report on Thursday. We're also working on a Colts report and some other cool stuff too. Thank you so much for joining us. My friends and I will be back tomorrow. And here's what happened on Monday, April 6, 2026. Michigan beat UConn 69-63 for its first national championship in 37 years in men's college basketball. The Big Ten's first in 26 years. The Wolverines also became the first team ever to win a national championship with 5 transfers in their starting lineup. Elliot Cadeau, a North Carolina transfer, was named Most Outstanding Player. He led all scorers with 19 on Monday night. Not exactly an offensive display. The two teams combined to shoot 34% for the game. And Grant, Michigan started a little slow, but in the end, they were obviously the best team, right?
I don't think there's any doubt. I think that you could tell the energy in the building was really unique. Just from being there, it was 80-20 Michigan fans. Just a sea of maize and blue took over downtown. I thought having the crowd behind them and the year that they've had has been really, really special. I just thought they were the better team all around, and probably a team we're going to be talking about for a long, long time.
And your first national championship game experience live, what was it like?
You know, it's always been a bucket list as a sports fan. Like, I think you have certain things that you want to accomplish as a fan. Like, I think the average fan will tell you, you want to go to Augusta, you know, and see the Masters. Maybe you want to go to the Super Bowl. Maybe you want to go to the Indy 500. For me, that bucket list has always been go to the Final Four, go to the national championship. And being able to do that was really, really cool. I made so many friends this weekend. Started Thursday at the NIT, and one of those guys told me, they're like, hey, you know, the day of the national championship game, look for tickets on the secondary market because they really go down the day of the game. And so that's what I did. I found a cheap ticket in my price range where I didn't mind sitting, and I thought outside the box a little bit, and I brought binoculars and used the binoculars and watched it from where I was through the binoculars. Well, if you take the binoculars out and you don't watch it through binoculars, you can't stop doing it. I think it's one of those really cool experiences you have to be prepared for. You've seen other people talk about how, like, oh, I'm sitting way up in the nosebleeds, I can't see. And I wasn't necessarily in the nosebleeds. You just felt like you were a mile from the court, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a really cool experience. I would 100% do it again. The people were awesome. Seeing the Michigan people celebrate. Being an IE fan, we've gone through with football and winning the national championship. That is one of those things that really resonates with you when you see other fan bases get through. I was telling all the Michigan people, hey, enjoy it. Take this in and enjoy it, because you'll never want this feeling to end. And it just was a really cool experience, I think.
And of course, the Big Ten now has the football, men's basketball, and women's basketball national champions all at the same time for the first time ever.
It's pretty impressive. We talked about how the SEC has been so dominant over the years of controlling football, and the emergence they've had in basketball here over the last few years, I'd say 5-6 years or so. It's just really, really impressive to see a conference like the Big Ten just be able to dominate in everything. Michigan's probably going to win the hockey national championship too, and then they win the men's basketball, UCLA the women's, and then Indiana football. I think, did Indiana football win the national championship?
Grant, let me check my notes. Indiana did win the football national championship.
That's what I thought. Okay, I just wanted to hear you say it again. I think the conference being the way it has been is really good for the sport, and hopefully other leagues start to take notice. And by the way, Michigan wins the first national championship for the Big Ten in men's basketball since the year 2000. First time in my life the Big Ten has won a national championship in men's basketball.
Wow. Also the first time that 5 transfers have ever won a national championship as well. Kind of tells you the way college basketball is going, and I'm going to be talking with Michelle Garmon about that here in just a minute. Last thing, Grant, Dusty May, your thoughts on an IU grad leading his team to the national championship?
Just a kid from Salisbury, Indiana, Greg. How about that?
Wow.
From Salisbury, Indiana. It's the old Bob Knight video of him playing golf where he used to do a lot of grouse hunting down in Salisbury. Just a dude from Greene County, went to Eastern Greene High School. Really, really cool. Dusty's a great guy. I've gotten a chance to meet him a couple times and talk with him. Very down to earth, very respectful, and not one of those guys that blows you off and doesn't want to talk to you. And I'm happy for him. Honestly, I would have been happy if UConn would have won too. I'm a big Dan Hurley fan. He reminds me a lot of Kurt Signetti. Reminds me a lot of Coach Knight in a way. So really cool for Dusty May. You talk about him as the IU grad. I think about him as just the kid from Greene County, Indiana, a community that probably similar to where you grew up in Elwood. I think it's really one of those neat things. It's neat for the sport. And thankfully that every team in the Final Four this year had fingerprints from Indiana on the team. Illinois had Jake Davis and Ben Hummerkaus. Of course, UConn with Braylon Mullins, and then Arizona's assistant Jason Gardner's from Indiana, and then Dusty's from Salisbury. So really, really cool. And I just think it's a neat thing for the people of Greene County and for the state of Indiana.
Hey, Grant, let's talk some IU tonight.
All right, let's do it, man.
Dusty May is the 5th Hoosier native to lead a team to a men's college basketball national championship. Branch McCracken from Monrovia led IU to a couple. Everett Dean from Livonia led Stanford to a national championship, I believe 52. John Wooden from Martinsville won about 50 of them at UCLA. And then Scott Drew from Valparaiso won at Baylor just a couple of years ago. Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader sports editor and my friend and mentor, Michelle Garmon, is here. Michelle, of course, is a huge college basketball fan, and I wanted to get her opinion of the state of college basketball because, Michelle, the quality of basketball is really good, but there are a lot of issues right now.
There are a tremendous amount of issues right now. And some of these, I think, affect the women's game a little bit, even a little slightly more than they affect the men's game. There's some things that have got to be dealt with because the product is just too good. March Madness, the whole month of March Madness is the best playoff, best tournament scenario, period. Each game presents drama. I think it's incredible. I know the argument is when people keep saying this can't continue, the NIL, the transfer portal. And let me be clear. I think NIL is less of an issue than the transfer portal.
Correct.
Okay. Because the transfer portal allows bidding wars every year with a freedom to move around. And I get upset when the Jay Billises and those guys think, well, coaches move around and it's only right. Well, they don't get to move around every year in the NFL, in Major League Baseball, in the NHL. I have no problem with the executive order that President Trump signed. I would like to see Congress do it. I think you should get one free transfer, and I don't have a problem with that. Here's my problem. What NIL and this transfer portal is doing, more so the transfer portal again, when a player transfers every year, there is no way they're getting their degree. And maybe they're making money, but that player is probably not going to, the ones that don't make it to the NBA, they may make it to Europe for a little bit, but if they don't make it to the NBA, they're not necessarily getting great big contracts. You're just doing a disservice to them, because then they're not getting an education, and they don't necessarily will know how to value their money or make it work, make it last. The other thing I have bad with the transfer portal is what the NC2A needs to do, and I think they can do this and don't have to worry so much about lawsuits, because there's precedents with the NFL and Major League Baseball. You should have to have certified agents. Not anybody can just go represent an athlete. That's what's hurting, because there are a lot of guys out there that see these college athletes and see money, and they peddle them, and they are giving them a bad advice. They're not thinking of that athlete's long-term future. They're thinking of what money they can put in their pocket, how they can exploit that athlete to earn a percentage. I think they should have to, an agency should have to be vetted, and they should have to be approved by the NC2A, or all those agents should have to try to get certification through those professional leagues.
Michelle, thank you so much for your time as always, and we will be talking some baseball and golf and all kinds of stuff coming up now that basketball season's in. Thanks so much to Grant and Michelle. A couple of more college basketball items. It looks like former Nuggets head coach Michael Malone will be the next head coach at North Carolina, replacing the fired Hubert Davis. And the transfer portal is officially open. We'll have daily updates on this show for local teams and players. For example, former Heritage Christian and Purdue star Miles Colvin is leaving Wake Forest. Great day for Brandon Williamson and the Cincinnati Reds. Williamson allowed just 3 hits in 6 2/3 innings. And the Reds won their 4th straight game on Monday, beating the Marlins 2-0. The Reds have allowed just 1 run in the last 3 games and 5 in their last 5 games, and now have 4 shutouts in their 10 games so far this season. They're now 7-3 in a game behind the 8-2 Brewers, who just will not lose. They beat the Red Sox 8-6 on Monday. They're tied with the Dodgers for the best record in baseball. The Dodgers drubbed the Blue Jays 14-2 behind Dalton Rushing's 2-home run performance in Game 1 of a World Series rematch. The Cubs, Pirates, and Cardinals all lost Monday in the NL Central. The 4-6 Cubs lost in Tampa 6-4 in the first game at Tropicana Field since Hurricane Milton damaged it 562 days ago. The Royals turned a rare 5-6, 4-3 double play in a 4-2 win over Cleveland, and Bryce Harper had 3 RBIs in the Phillies' 6-4 comeback win over the Giants. A couple local headlines. The Muncie Star-Press named Monroe Central's Tashawn Beatty its boys basketball player of the year, and Mark Detweiler their coach of the year. Fisher senior Kai McGrew tweeted Monday evening that he's received an offer from Ball State to continue his basketball career. And in football, Zionsville tight end Theo Schott tweeted he's been offered by Missouri. And Noblesville junior offensive tackle Mason McDermott has received a scholarship offer from UCLA. And Taylor senior Brady Fine has been named Crossroads Pitcher of the Week after throwing 5 scoreless innings in the Trojans' 7-0 win over St. Francis. Fine is now 7-0 on the season with a 0.72 ERA. He's averaging 12.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. And some late breaking news. The Fever have offered to extend Kelsey Mitchell's contract, and they've reportedly offered Lexie Hull a qualifying offer, so both should remain in Indy long term. More on that on tomorrow's show. And here's what's coming up on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026. Big game for your Indiana Pacers on Tuesday in a must-lose situation against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Will clinch a playoff spot with a win. The Pacers need just 2 losses to clinch a coveted bottom 3 NBA draft lottery spot. It would give them the best possible odds in the May 10th draft lottery. And wins by the Jazz and Kings would also help. Utah is in New Orleans, and Sacramento is in San Francisco to face the Warriors. We'll be talking a lot about the NBA playoffs starting next week on this show and on the Central Indiana Sports Report. We hope to have Mike Rich on tomorrow's show to talk some Pacers. Also a little IU Ball State baseball to discuss. Please join us. Thanks so much to Grant Shouse and Michelle Garmon, and to Westwood One Radio. That was Kevin Kugler alongside Robbie Hummel and PJ Carlissimo on the call on Westwood One. I forgot to mention that at the top of the show. And thank you for joining us. Always appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow. Also, check out the IU report, hopefully later Tuesday, and the Purdue report on Wednesday, the IndyCar report on Thursday, hopefully a Colts report on Friday. Then we'll be back Sunday with a Fever report, Monday with your Pacers report. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.